Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Nurse demands I bring exactly what she ordered. My job is a bit strange. I work for a company that provides equipment, beds, O2, wheelchairs, etc. to patients on hospice care. This can be one of two ways: one, in-home with family, or two, in an assisted living facility. I got an order today for an emergency O2 setup. This normally includes an O2 concentrator, think specialized air compressor, a couple of backup tanks, a tank cart/pouch, and all the tubes and equipment for those. I immediately noticed that this order is odd. First on the order are two of our biggest O2 tanks outside of liquid O2, M60 for those in the medical/gas field. These are large 24-pound tanks of O2 that are reserved usually for high-liter flow patients or those who live in excess of 2 hours from the nearest warehouse. While this on its own isn't odd, the fact that it was relatively close to my warehouse and the concentrator was only a 5-liter one had me questioning. On top of that, the order also had one of our smallest tanks, B tank, which are the kind you usually see people carrying in pouches while out walking. Third, there was a tank cart for a third size of tank, E tank. That's our standard, but wasn't on this order. And finally, to top it all off, there were no regulators, which are devices that are needed to extract the O2 from the tanks in a controlled manner, and given the order, there should be two different kinds, as M60s take a different regulator than E or B. Obviously, this order was wrong, and I wanted to make sure I was providing the correct equipment. I figured either the hospice company had a non-nurse input orders, pretty common, which resulted in accidentally getting M60 instead of E tanks. The standard O2 setup for our company is 2 E tanks and 1 B tank, with each concentrator in case of emergency or travel. Or they'd forgotten to add the regulators and just added the cart out of reflex. I decided to call the hospice nurse, whose number was in the patient notes, and clarify what equipment was needed. Me. Hi, this is OP with Health Company. I'm calling in regards to your order for patient... Nurse Karen. Yes? With the nastiest tone you can imagine. Me. Telling myself she's had a stressful day as healthcare is brutal. I have a few questions regarding the equipment ordered. Some of the equipment is incompatible and/or missing. Nurse Karen. I know what I ordered. Just hurry up and bring it. Can't you see it's a stat order? Me. Yes, ma'am. I'm just trying to ensure that we're providing the correct equipment for the patient. Some of this equipment doesn't seem needed and others are missing key parts. Nurse Karen. I am a nurse and you're just a effing delivery driver. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't question my decisions and just bring me what I effing ordered now. Right away, ma'am. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Now, I may not be a nurse, but I've been doing this a while, so I go ahead and load up the order, but I also load the regulators that they may need as well as the standard O2 tanks just in case. While I was down to maliciously comply, I didn't want to endanger a patient. I figured I'd let the facility staff know, give them the extra equipment, and let the hospice nurse suffer when the facility reported on her incompetence. I get there and screen into the facility where I'm directed to the nurse's station for the patient's unit. I have all the equipment ordered by Nurse Karen on a cart, and I'm going to give her one more chance. When I get to the nurse's station, the facility nurses point me in the direction of the hospice nurse. I stop to talk to her, trying to show her the issue. She immediately shuts me down again and tells me, just do your effing job. She then tells me the room number and walks off. I get to the room and am surprised to see the regional supervisor for the hospice company, who I'd met a few times before as she liked to greet all the new patients and she was in the area. We got to talking and this is how it went. Awesome manager. Hey, OP, are you here to get the patient set up? Me. Yep, although there might be an issue with the order. I then wheeled in the cart. Awesome manager. Why do you have those tanks? The patient's on 2 liters. They don't need that. Me. I figured it was a mix-up and tried calling Nurse Karen to confirm, but she very rudely insisted that I bring this out exactly as she ordered it. She also didn't order any regulators. Awesome manager. What? What if the facility loses power or the concentrator goes down? Me. I tried explaining, but she just insisted to bring this. Don't worry, though, I've got extras in my truck. Do you want the normal O2 setup? Awesome manager. Yes, thank you. I'll be sure to look into Nurse Karen's conduct. I did my order, chatted with the facility staff, and left. Didn't see Nurse Karen or Awesome manager again. I thought that was the end, but it turns out that awesome manager called my boss while I was out doing the rest of my orders. Apparently, he wanted to thank me for knowing what I'm doing and letting him know. They started looking into Nurse Karen's other patients and found that she was constantly ordering incorrect equipment, and the other techs were just quietly correcting it for her. Easier than calling, honestly, and what I would have done if my day hadn't been so light. Awesome manager told my boss that he had let Nurse Karen go and that she would no longer be an issue. Apparently, I saved the hospice company thousands of dollars in potential malpractice and neglect lawsuits. We're finally rid of them, and the entire neighborhood is sighing in relief. Since we finally lost our neighbors from hell in October, I thought I'd share. I might not make it too clear, but the man in the story was harassing so many people out here where we live. I can only tell my story, but I've heard from other neighbors what he did to them too, but that's their story to tell. It started all rightish 4 years ago when an alcoholic woman was put into the apartment next door by her caretakers. Our government always have some apartments on hand for these types of situations, and that one next door was one of the few that they had been signed to have 4 years ago when it was empty. All year round, she kept her windows open. We live in Denmark, where it's cold as F in the winter, so I don't know how she could live like that. Not my problem. My problem was her being a night person. Many nights I'd either hear 90s cartoon pop Aqua, she owned only one album apparently, or hear the movie Scream on repeat very loud. Wes Craven fan here, so I'll take that over Aqua any day. I usually get up between 3 and 4 a.m. and was so loud I could hear it word for word in my home. I wonder how many neighbors she managed to wake up over the years. Fast forward to summer 2017. Here came her on and off boyfriend / friend / whatever he was and moved in. It was all good in the beginning, and then he started showing his true colors. He'd ring our doorbell to beg for money, for beers, for cigarettes. He knocked on my window one morning at 6 a.m. because he saw me sitting there and thought it was perfectly fine. I told him that was not okay that early. That's when he started to get mad at me. He kept coming around for money and also trying to make us drive him around in his car, which we refused. He got more mad. He shouted at me downtown when he saw me alone and he was with friends, and he made his friends run around and knock on our windows late at night. My husband was still awake, sitting in the darkness, watching them run around doing it. That's why we know for a fact it was them. We weren't the only ones that had problems with him. He got more and more angry and took it out on her and the apartment. Now it was screaming, fighting, and throwing furniture every night. He threatened other people living out here and in general was very scary. I started locking my front door 24/7 and hiding whenever he rang the doorbell. No one ever knew if he'd say hello or try and punch you when you met him. Most of us living out here would walk the other way out of fear if he came towards us. In September this year, she'd thrown him out again. This happened often, and he would be right back in the apartment 2 weeks later. I was home around 7:30 a.m. that Monday morning after she'd thrown him out in the weekend, when he came riding on his bike past my windows. 30 seconds later, I heard her window being smashed. He'd thrown something through it and took off. I walked over to the handyman working where we live and told them so they could do something. Fix the window, maybe call the people we rent apartments from to tell them what's up. Finally, the caretakers think enough is enough and decided to move her out late October. And it wasn't a package deal where he'd get to go along too. He broke into the apartment. She'd left the windows open. The windows can open two ways, tipped inwards, on top, or opened completely. She'd left them inwards on top as she always did. He moved a hand in through one window to reach the handle of the other one so he could close the top and open the window completely and climb in. He stayed in her apartment, not sure if he actually thought no one would care about him staying there without paying rent. Last Wednesday in October, she came back to mark the furniture she wanted to keep along with the caretaker. The caretaker chose to play it safe and talk to him about if he was ready to move or not, and the smart woman closed the windows and locked the door when she left so he couldn't get back in. All should be good, but he didn't give up. 2 days later, very early Friday morning, he was there again, emptying the unlocked shed and putting all the stuff outside. When the handyman got to work, they were supposed to empty the apartment and leave everything she had marked since it'd be picked up that afternoon. Drunk neighbor, of course, complained his butt off by not having anywhere to live when they showed up. No one spoke to him. They unlocked the door to empty the apartment, and he ran inside and locked it. And the police came for the umpteenth time because of him. We had them stopping by at least once a week since summer 2017 because of him. Now they had to come back one last time to throw him out of the apartment. Her stuff was picked up that afternoon, and apparently he'd seen her Saturday and managed to get the key to the apartment that she still had. Sunday morning at 4 a.m. when I took out the trash, I saw a faint light coming from inside. I moved to the front door that has windows and saw the bathroom door ajar further ahead. Bathroom's right across from the front door, and I could see him in there hiding through the crack in the door. The bathroom has no windows, so no one would see him in there when he closed the door completely. He'd been there from Saturday and stayed till Monday morning. He left before the handyman came to work, something he'd done before when he didn't want to see him there. I walked over to them and told them he'd gotten a key again. They showed up later, 3 people in case he'd come back. They changed the lock, and that was finally the end of Drunk Neighbor from Hell. We haven't seen him since. The apartment was trashed and had to have a new kitchen and bathroom because of him always throwing and destroying things. An elderly woman moved in on December 1st, and we haven't heard anything from her yet. My front door's now unlocked during daytime again. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.